On to the state budget battle now. The state could run out of cash by the end of February. With the economic crisis, state revenues are expected to plummet by more than $11 billion this year. We are your traffic and weather station. And O.J. Simpson and a co-defendant will be sentenced Friday. Their lawyers asking the judge to sentence Simpson and Clarence Stewart to a minimum prison term of just 6 years. Remember, last year they robbed two sports memorabilia dealers in Las Vegas at gunpoint. Prosecutors are recommending 18 years for both of the men. But once the sun does rise, the scene is not going to be a good one. We do have red flag warnings in effect stretching all the way from Santa Barbara County down to nearly San Diego. A UPS truck left southbound Nimitz around Broadway, actually barreling through a guardrail, ending up on a city street. Initial reports are that it ended up on Jackson Street. Good morning, Will. Is that in fact the case? In national news, an apology from President Bush. In an interview with ABC News, President Bush told Charlie Gibson he regretted the global financial crisis has cost people their jobs and their savings. He said he was sorry it was happening, but did not take responsibility for any of the current financial problems. We've revamped our webpage, and let me tell you, it is awesome. Your market update. Investors apparently liked what they heard earlier this morning as a plan was announced to shore up the nation's economy. The Dow has just taken off in these past few minutes, now up 448 points. The woman's relatives told police about the incident, who then had investigators move in. It is headed for the Delta. Storms moving at about 30 miles an hour. Can expect it in West Pittsburgh around 5:03.
Now, are you concerned that somebody may try and grab the torch from you today?
Going to be a nice one. Bring the sunscreen. There is nothing getting in the way between you and the sun today. First thing you notice when you look at his MySpace page is he has the banner of the city of Fairfield front and center. In a quick glance, you can tell just how hopeful, how determined, and how full of faith he was. Not only is it Friday, but it is going to be a beautiful Friday. Yes, we have a little bit of fog in the inland valleys this morning. Temperatures right now all across the board running from the 30s to the 60s in the higher elevations. And again, as those winds out of the northeast descend the hills there in the mountains, they just dry out and get warmer. So situation does not look good. The U.S. Mint's 50th state quarter collection will be soon complete. Are you into this? My mom can't get enough of this. She has a little book with all the states. The Hawaii quarter is the final state to be released in the popular program that began back in 1999. Most Americans won't see it for another week or so as it goes into circulation. Banks across Hawaii will have the new quarters available this afternoon. Next year, the program will feature 6 additional quarters covering the District of Columbia and the U.S. territories because Congress extended the program. The meeting may, of course, be a little awkward considering Obama spent a lot of his campaign criticizing what he called Bush's failed policies. Obama and his wife Michelle will get a tour of their new digs from the president and the First Lady. The visit is coming more quickly than it has in past years, and a transition team has been established to make the process run smoothly. U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid say a healthy auto industry is essential to restoring financial market stability and the overall health of the economy. Automakers want an additional $50 billion in loans from Congress to help them pay for health care obligations for their retirees, people living longer now. That would be in addition to the $25 billion in loans that Congress passed in September to help retool auto plants to build more fuel-efficient vehicles. It is 5:47, and after a gorgeous weekend, we have lots of things happening in the weather department. Rain in the forecast, and then later on, the threat of more fire weather. Evelyn? In news around the Bay, U.S. Coast Guard officials have suspended the search for a man who disappeared underwater off the Sonoma coast while diving for abalone. The man was diving in Fort Ross Cove around 3 yesterday afternoon, but he never resurfaced. The Coast Guard launched a helicopter and a lifeboat, continuing its search well into the night, but then had to call off the effort. Still, no sign of the man. The search will not start up again unless new information is uncovered. And tree sitters opposed to campus development plans at the University of California, Santa Cruz are marking the 1-year anniversary of their off-the-ground protest. A judge in March issued an injunction against the tree sitters and anyone bringing them equipment or food. University officials say they hope protesters will leave voluntarily and not force a confrontation. Governor Schwarzenegger is scheduled to tour the Lawrence Livermore National Lab today. He plans on visiting the National Ignition Facility, which is supposed to be the world's biggest laser system. It's scheduled for completion in March of next year. On to the latest on the state budget battle. The governor saying he'll veto an $18 billion package of budget cuts and tax increases. Democratic lawmakers were able to push that through the state legislature yesterday. Governor says the proposal just doesn't do enough to revive California's spiraling economy and close a projected $42 billion budget shortfall over the next 18 months. It is 5:10 on the KRON 4 Morning News. When we come back, we'll have much more on the rain out this morning, what you need to know before you head out the door, traffic reports, also national weather, and an update on Chicago O'Hare's Airport, where 300 flights were canceled. On to the economic crisis. Stock futures point to a higher open after the Dow took a nosedive yesterday, losing nearly 700 points, 679 to be exact. It's the biggest slide since October, and it wiped out more than half of last week's market rally. European markets are all down, and Asian stocks posted big losses today. Some analysts say the losses can be traced to a report from an American group of economists who say the U.S. has been in a recession for the past year. And it looks like Ford's CEO will travel by car to Washington, D.C. You see him here in a second attempt to get a cut of $25 billion in government loans. This after the CEO and top execs from General Motors and Chrysler were grilled by lawmakers last month. That's when they flew to Washington in separate private jets seeking a government bailout. They're required to submit their plans to save their companies today and will appear before congressional committees on Thursday and Friday. Sports wrap up. Panthers Raiders. Despite some mediocre play from the Carolina Panthers, the Raiders just couldn't manage a victory yesterday, even with Panthers QB Jake Delhomme playing the worst game of his career, throwing 4 interceptions. But the Raiders haven't scored a single touchdown in their last 9 quarters of football. The Panthers managed to come up on top 17-6. Carolina right now in first place in the NFC South. And in basketball, the Warriors nursing a loss. Kevin Martin scored 27 points, and the Sacramento Kings pulled away in the second half for a convincing 115-98 victory over the Warriors last night. The Kings won their 3rd straight game after opening the season with 4 losses on the road, most of them by lopsided margins. Tennessee Volunteers officially introduced Lane Kiffin as the school's 21st coach following its first ever nationwide search. At yesterday's press conference, Kiffin took some pot shots at the Raiders franchise, his former team. On the governor's webpage, he has this ticker up showing how the state is plunging deeper into debt by the millisecond. KRON 4's Jonathan Bloom shows us why the governor is promising to veto this new proposal, even as the state inches closer to what he calls financial Armageddon. Here's my rainfall forecast through Monday. North Bay between 1 to 2 inches, and the northern reaches of the North Bay could even see up to 3 inches of rain. Central Bay, a ½ inch. East Bay, along with the Santa Cruz Mountains, 3/4 of an inch. In the South Bay, we could see between 3/4 and an inch of rain. We did it. We dropped to 29 degrees for Napa.
There you go.
Yep. Freezing for Santa Rosa, 37 in San Rafael, of course milder, closer to the water, 44 San Francisco, but even in the 30s for Half Moon Bay along the coast, 38 for Hayward, for Oakland, 36 in Concord, 33 in Fairfield, 37 for Fremont, and 36 right now for San Jose. That's why we have a frost advisory in effect for the Delta. That goes until 9 this morning for patchy frost. Our freeze warning for the North Bay valleys has since been canceled, but make no mistake about it, it will still be cold. Futurecast 4 forecasting temperatures for us now set for 7 this morning before the sun rises, and take a look at all the 30-degree readings on the map in purple and in the bright pink here for the North Bay. Those are 20-degree readings for Petaluma, north of there into Santa Rosa, parts of the Napa Valley, in the Delta and the Livermore Valley. A little more mild, of course, nearer to the Bay. As you see in the dark blue here, those are temperature readings in the 40s. By the time we hit 8 o'clock, about ½ hour after sunrise,